Okay, so you can see my presentation, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to put it on full screen. So as you can see, I'll be talking about blended learning and the IPSIT model, which is part of the NEP. The NEP has given us this model of blended learning. So I will be talking a little bit about that as well. The reason why I think this topic was included in this was because NEP, I right now also, the ma'am had just said, the ma'am had just talked about the students wanting to learn in an electronic manner. They are more interested in learning online things and having access to technology rather than from book. So I think blended learning is one of the best ways of doing that, combining the online and offline resources. So there are different components to blended learning. The three aspects that I will be talking about is, first is understanding blended learning, then the different models that are there, and finally the implications of blended learning for teachers. So let's start with first understanding what exactly is blended learning. The Oxford Dictionary of Blended Learning is a style of education in which students learn via electronic and online media, as well as the traditional face-to-face teaching. So far, we have always taught at a face-to-face. The schools have always been the students sitting in the class and the teacher taking the class, imparting information. So I am the person who knows it all, and you are the persons who are going to listen to me and learn. So basically, what the traditional classroom setting was that the teacher knows the material and the students are sitting there to learn. But I think we have already discussed in the previous session itself that the students are now much smarter than that. And in fact, the teachers have to work really hard to be ahead of the students. So this blended learning is a combination of electronic learning as well as the traditional face-to-face teaching. And it is also referred to sometimes as the hybrid learning. And it's usually collaborative learning process. It's no longer that I am at a higher plane and you are at a lower plane. I'm the teacher and you are the student. I know it and you don't. But now it's a more of a collaborative learning process, that what is it the student wants to learn and how can I help the student to learn that. So the student is the primary stakeholder. He or she decides what is it that I want to learn, how I want to learn it, at what pace, and how much time I want to take to learn a particular concept. This is helpful to the teachers because it tells the teachers very clearly, without having to guess, what is it that the student is really interested in and what is it that will hold the student's attention. And naturally, it is beneficial to the student because the student is learning what he or she wants to learn, and that is why there will be greater amount of engagement on the part of the student. तो वो जो पहले हम लोग करते थे कि डंडा लेकर के कि if you are not listening to me, you're going to get punished. This is no longer required because the student wants to learn what you are teaching because you are teaching him what he or she wants to learn. So it's actually, if you look at it, blended learning is not so much as a new thing. It's not an innovation. It is, there is so much of digital things happening around us that this sort of is like an outcome of all that. So if you see the figure on the right side, you can see that blended learning is a combination of face-to-face learning and online learning. So that intersection between these two is what is it that we refer to as the blended learning. It is using not only the e-resources and picking up material from there, but integrating it into the face-to-face learning to make it a beneficial experience for both the learner as well as the mentor. Now, we don't call that person the teacher, we'll call that person the mentor, because the person is helping in supervising or helping or encouraging or providing ways of learning a particular aspect.
Ma'am, I think slides are not
Hanji.
moving.
Okay, I'm sorry. So that was the last slide that we were looking at. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's not visible if I am putting it on full screen. I'll just try and...
Yes, ma'am. If you'll put it on the full screen now, then it will not move, ma'am.
Oh, I see.
This happened with me also, that's why.
Okay, all right. So I'll leave it like this then in that case.
Yes, ma'am.
Though it will take away the fun from one or two of my slides, but doesn't matter. Okay. So coming to now, it's moving. You're seeing the important aspects slide right now. Yeah. Are you able to see the slide on important aspects?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So the first and foremost, the thing that we need to understand is, how is blended learning different from distance learning courses? We have distance learning courses. No, we have people who, like it was mentioned in the inaugural, we have Coursera, Udemy. So we have a lot of online courses which are available to us. So how is blended learning different? Why do we need to understand this as a different aspect? Because blended learning is not just online learning, it is a mix of online and offline learning. So this takes the advantages of online learning, that is, all material, everything is accessible to the person, and it also takes the advantages of the offline learning method, in which you have interaction with peer group, interaction with the person who's mentoring you, your guide, supervisor, and together the learning process becomes more beneficial, and online enhances the offline, and the offline enhances the online learning. So what are the different components of a blended learning classroom? So you have information that is online, and then you have interaction which is offline, which contains hands-on activities, labs, deeper learning, remedial information. There are some students, I think if we are, those who are the teachers in this group will know that in a class, there is always a mix of students who are good at understanding, are fast at comprehending things, and then there are students who are not so fast. And those students require greater attention, greater amount of time. So remediation kind of activity can be done, which will not be possible when you are doing only online or distance learning. Discussions with peers, with your mentor, with whatever projects that you want to do, what are your academic goals? This is a very important aspect, because in my experience, I have seen that the students, after joining, quite a few of them, some of them, of course, are quite sorted, but there are quite a few students who don't know what they are going to do after they've done their graduation. दे आर 12th के बाद भी उनको नहीं पता था कि हमने क्या करना है, और ग्रेजुएशन करने के समय भी उनको नहीं पता कि हमने क्या करना है. The idea of joining graduation is कि okay, we have 3 more years to think of what we need to do. So that doesn't place them in a very happy situation, because even at the end of the graduations, they still don't know what they are planning to do. Very frequently, the reason for that is there is very little connect between what is taught in the class and what is waiting for them outside the college campus. That NEP is trying to bring about a change in that and reducing the gap between academics and the work scenario. but still a long way to go. And a lot of time the students don't know what they are planning to do when they leave college, or what is it that they want to do after whatever they are doing. So these kind of discussions, this blended learning gives this kind of time to the students to discuss these kind of aspects with their guide, supervisor, mentor. So then obviously the next question that follows is that, does blended learning model prepare the student for higher level learning or a job? Well, that is the focus. Since the idea is to encourage both academic as well as hands-on learning, the idea is that by the time the student is at the end of their graduation, they not only have the academic background, but they also have some skills that will help them to find jobs enough to look after themselves financially. So like ma'am had just talked in the previous session, NEP has encouraged or included all these aspects, skill-based courses, projects, and entrepreneurship, internships, all that has become part of NEP, because of which the student becomes prepared for the job scenario also. They may, because I remember when I was a student, there was a meme, which said ki, I know how to do calculus, but I don't know how to go and open a bank account. So although you may know a lot of academic information, practical information was lacking, which is what is being taken care of in the present situation. So there are some myths also about blended learning. They think that there are people who think that there is only one way of conducting blended learning, कि online, offline, उसको हम mix करके blended learning उसको कह देते हैं. But there are different models and different ways in which blended learning can be done. And depending upon the need, you can change the model of blended learning in your same class. It's not as if you can only follow one method of blended learning. Another myth is that students, because they are working online, they are working in isolation. Again, that's not true, because it's not distance learning. It is a blended learning, and the students do interact with their peer groups, and they do interact with the mentor and the guide. So they are not working in isolation. The third myth is that instructors and supervisors will be redundant in blending learning. This is a fear a lot of faculty also shares, that if there is blended learning and a lot of information is coming online, तो हमारा क्या काम है, फिर हम क्या करेंगे, we will be out of jobs. But that's not true. The role of the supervisor, the role of the instructor changes, but they are very much needed in the teaching learning process, because there can be no learning unless there is somebody who's helping you learn. Yes, there is a lot of material online, but somebody needs to be there to tell you what material to pick up from where to be able to enhance what you're learning already. Another one is that work is primarily asynchronous. That again is not true. Right now we are in the learning process, which is totally synchronous. And yes, if I give you a project to do and submit, that would be asynchronous. It requires less work than traditional face-to-face learning. Actually, it requires more work, because the supervisor has to take care of each and every student's space of learning. So, and also for the student to be fully involved, it actually requires more work than the traditional face-to-face learning. Students need to be tech savvy, well, to a certain extent, yes, but it's not as if a person who doesn't know too much about searching for material online cannot be taught how to do that. It's only for gifted children. We've already seen in the previous slide that even for remediation work, blended learning is a great way of doing things. And there are some people who think that it is one step to work between online and traditional learning. So wo bhi we can already see, and as we go on, we will also see further that it is a totally a different thing and not to be mixed with ki जैसे हम कोविड के दौरान ले रहे थे क्लासेस ऑनलाइन, दैट इज ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग. नो, दैट्स नॉट ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग. सो दैट इज वी आर टेकिंग एन ऑनलाइन क्लास दैट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग. When combined with research strategies, blended learning can provide new opportunities for students that meet a variety of different learning styles and change the learning landscape for the better. This is what we need to remember, that it gives a lot more scope for learning to the student. Even those students who are not able to do in a class of 60 or 70 or 80, it's very difficult to give attention to a single student. But when we see the different models of blended learning, we can see that we are able to focus on a group of students while the other groups are involved in something which is equally important. So the advantages of blended learning can be there, that the content is personalized naturally to the learner's needs. Electronics resources can be used to provide supportive information to the information that they are getting from other sources like books. Then the students can do independent activities at their own pace, whenever they feel up to it, whenever they are like, we say sky is the limit, but the sky is at different levels for different students. We need to remember that. Children's work is automatically saved, and you have the records for all times because it's saved online. And whenever that student wants a record of the work, you can provide it for the student without having to hunt through a whole lot of cupboards for the material that you may have kept inside. Of course, it has its challenges as well, because it requires the pupils to keep moving between paper-based and online activities, and it's not always easy to make that transition. It also increases the screen time of students, and all the time we are saying we should take the phone away from them, and we should not, it's not great for them to have so much of screen time. The students are spending too much time online. They are all watching screens and interacting with friends on WhatsApp. And here we are saying that अब पढ़ाई भी आप on screen करो, है ना? So in a way, it does increase the screen time, but when we make it interesting, hopefully the other extraneous activities like WhatsApp and Facebook will reduce. Because here we are getting them to do things that they would actually like doing. Then the required technology is not always available in all classrooms. We all know, who are coming from smaller cities and towns, it's all sometimes even difficult to get the Wi-Fi connections. But definitely it is a huge additional information for the students, along with the other books and other sources that we are using for the traditional teaching methods. And like I said earlier also, the teacher's workload increases because of the aspect that you're going to be looking after each student separately, working at their pace, creating material for the student according to the way the student will be able to learn. And that increases the work on the part of the teacher. So when we say blended learning, it is a blend of e-learning, instructor-led training, collaborative learning, virtual classes, webinars, coaching and mentoring, and workshops. So this is actually, you can see it's quite a tall order, but it doesn't mean we have to do everything out of all these aspects. Those which are necessary for whichever student, we can bring it up, and let go of the others. Don't have to do everything what it says over here. Okay, these are the different models. So we have the station rotation model, the flex model, enriched virtual model of blended learning. We have the flipped classrooms. Flipped classroom is the most commonly used method. I'll just give an overview because I saw in the program that there is going to be another special session for flipped classrooms. Then there is mastery-based blended learning, which, as we can see, is for the senior classes, PG and above. And then we have the self-directed learning process. So coming to each one of them, the station rotation or lab rotation learning is where you, as you can see in the picture, you have one group of students who are in the teacher-led instruction. So you can see if you have a large class, you can divide them into 3 different groups. And in another one, they are doing collaborative activities like projects and focus group discussions or other activities, role plays, any other activity, which is also learning based only. And this is where another group of students is doing online learning. They are looking for material at the online, which will sort of enhance their learning with the teacher-led instruction. Then we have the flex model, in which as the name suggests, the entire process is flexible. The although online still continues to be the backbone, it also has the time schedules are flexible according to the students. The modality of teaching is flexible according to the student. The teacher is there on site, but the students, they do their work on their own, depending upon the different activities that the teacher may have planned for that particular class. Then we have the enriched virtual blending learning. As this term suggests, it's primarily virtual, and the teacher's need is as needed totally on need base. Otherwise, the student works on their own. The information that they need to gather, the directions have been, and the instructions are given by the teacher, but the student does the entire activity on their own. Most of it is done virtually. Then we have the flipped classroom, blended learning. This, like I said, is one of the most frequently used kind of a method, and also one of the easiest methods to follow out of all of these. Basically, like the entire process over here is that you actually flip the entire activity which is there in the traditional classrooms. So if you look over here, in the traditional classroom, you have the work being done in the class and the homework is given to the student. You do this and submit it tomorrow or 1 week later or whatever. But in the flipped classroom, the material is sent to the students. They go through the material at home, and in the class, the discussions are done. So the kind of homework that the students is getting is different. In the traditional classroom, they are being taught in the class, and then they are given work which they are supposed to be doing at home. And in the flipped classroom method, it is absolutely the opposite, that they are given the material to be read at home. What the teacher would have taught in class, they do at home and come. And when they come to the class, they are having discussions, activities, projects based on what they have learned. So basically, the entire process changes. And here the teacher at home creates the video lecture and shares it with the student. And the student watches that lecture and prepares the questions for the teacher. And at school, the teacher facilitates discussions and answers their question. And the student comes prepared with those questions and learns to participate in the learning activities that take place, vis-a-vis whatever has been sent to the student. This is actually a very good method because I practice it in class as well. But I have to confess that it took me quite a while to get the students to get into this mode, because they are coming from classes where they have been taught in the traditional method. So they look at your face when you tell them that you will read this and come and we will discuss it in class, because that is a totally unexpected method of learning. And fortunately for me, I have the same students in semester 3, semester 4, and semester 7. And it is only in semester 7 that I have been able to do this on ground. So although I started working on it little by little, semester 3, semester 4, but in semester 3, I introduced it, semester 4 partially, and semester 7 now totally, I tell them that these are the research papers and I am sending them to you. You will read them and come and we will discuss it in class, and it is actually working. And with that, the students also have realized this, and I have also enjoyed the classes, because the students bring up so much of material of their own, more than what I have shared, because they have their thoughts, their opinions about it. And it really becomes interesting when there are these different students are sharing their different ideas and opinions about something, and it really becomes a very beautifully interactive class. But it has taken me quite a while to get this done, and breaking that habit of traditional classes where the teacher told them that this is the question and this is what you have to read, and from here to here is the answer. So bringing them out of that mode of teaching took me a little while, but I managed, and teaching the 7th semester is really very interesting and good fun. Then we have this mastery-based blended learning. This, as the term suggests, is basically for those students who want to master a particular area, want to become specialized in a particular area. And naturally, this is for senior students, probably post-graduation and above, who go from one station to another in a specific algorithm, and and do not necessarily go to every station that is there, but they go specifically to those aspects in which they want to specialize. They want to become a master in a particular area of study. Self-directed blended learning, again, the role of the teacher is minimal. The student is the one who takes on the responsibility and the onus of learning, and they guide their own personalized inquiry. They have their own particular learning goals, and they usually interact with the mentors only as and when necessary. So, okay, this was, I was saying, this has taken away the fun, because I thought I will ask you this question and then you can give me the answer. But since I was not able to do it like that, so you'll probably see the answer as well. So now you can see from this question that which of the following is a blended learning. The students using laptops or tablets to respond to questions in class is not blended learning. Teacher labels parts of the nervous system on digital whiteboards and students take notes on a laptop is also not blended learning. And neither is students use their laptops to make presentations and discuss in class is also not blended learning. What is blended learning? With students watch a video on Gandhi's assassination and go online or to the library to find out about God's sake. So basically, you have given them a direction, you've shown them a video, and then the students go ahead and bring out further information about that particular aspect or concept or event, whatever it is that you're discussing in class. So neither of A, B, nor D are blended learning. So using laptops to respond, making PPTs, or discussing in class, and these are not blended learning. Blended learning is C, where the students watch a video on Gandhi and then go online and find out more about God's sin. So these are the different important features of blended learning, that is increases student engagement naturally, since they are learning what they want to learn and in a way that they want to learn. This the student engagement is naturally more. Then student teacher interaction also gets enhanced. Responsibility for learning is on the learner. There is greater time management and flexibility because the student feels responsible. So time management is also better. There are improved learning outcomes because of greater engagement, flexible teaching learning environment, continuous self-learning is there, opportunities for experiential learning, and role of the teacher changes to that of mentor. Then let us look at what are the online and or offline model components of blended learning. So, or the online one, we can have synchronous and asynchronous learning activities. The different methods are assessing an e-resource like texts, graphics, animations. Then you have links to digital libraries. Then you have MOOCs from where you can get information. Attending online virtual sessions by the instructor, individual or group activities with the help of ICT tools, online workshops and webinars, and completing assignments and uploading on LMS, attempting online tests and quizzes. All these, of course, we are doing in the online mode. Engaging in virtual labs and simulations, engaging in e-conferences, online internships, projects, directly or indirectly related to the course curriculum. Whatever you're doing when you are going online is the online part of the blended learning. And then we have the face-to-face. What are the different aspects in face-to-face? Attending the instructor's short duration lecturette, resolving queries, participating in group activities, collaborating in new knowledge, borrowing and accessing books. So we are not letting go of the traditional method here. So we are still clear that books are an important source of information. In fact, many times I have to tell my students that you are taking material online, but you have to be very careful what is the source of your information, because not all information that is available online is correct. So sometimes they get incorrect information and they come to the class, then it becomes the responsibility of the teacher to help them make the difference or distinction between the correct information that may be available online and the incorrect information that they may have accessed. So, and books are an important source of confirming the information that they have taken from the online sources. Field visits, sports is an important activity, although we may say that it is not part of academics, but sports plays a very role as far as enhancing cognitive functioning is concerned. Then face-to-face training, apprenticeships, internships, practicals, because without practicals and hands-on learning, the just learning theoretical material is of no use. Appearing for tests and assessments. Okay, so now you're going to tell me this. So which of these activities are synchronous and which are asynchronous? I'm sure you're all aware of this, but this is only for keeping everybody engaged for an hour-long session. Hai na? So let me ask you, you can put the answers in the chat box. So looking for a research article would be synchronous or asynchronous learning activity. You can write just S or A. Right? Are people still there listening to me, or everybody's gone off for their dinners? Okay, so looking for a research article would be all right. We'll move on then. Okay, coming to the last aspect, that is the IPSIT or IPSIT model, which is part of the NEP. This has given, the NEP has given very clear guidelines for the IPSIT model for blended learning. And that is because the NEP also states that education needs to be made available to the students anywhere and at any time. So that is one of the reasons why blended learning is an option. I stands for identifying resources and learner-centered activities. P is for resources and announce activities. S is for scaffolding and support to learners. Sorry, there seems to be some problem. Okay, can you see my presentation? Is my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then scaffolding and support to learners. I is for identifying the learning gaps and giving that kind of feedback to the student. And T, of course, is testing to assess where the student is at a particular time. So you need to plan what is going to be the important aspects that you're going to provide to your student and from where. So you have certain ways of doing that. One is that you determine what you're going to deliver before the learning event. That is, you send the material to the student before the class. Chahe aap video bhejo ya research paper bhejo, whatever it is that you would like the student to go through before they are coming into the classroom. Then what are you going to be doing during the classroom? That is the application of the concept that you have sent the material to them. You could do it in the form of practicals or projects or hands-on activities, role plays, focus group discussions, debates, quizzes, whatever it is, but it needs to be decided previously itself by you as a teacher. What is it that you're going to do with the information that you've already sent them to read or see or understand? Then what is it that you're going to be doing after the learning event is done? That is the continuous information that you will be giving them, the continuous support you will give to those students who have still not clearly understood the concept, and those who come back to you with questions. So you formulate a detailed plan. This is the structure which has been given by the NEP, and detailed plan about how is it that you're going to be teaching each module. What are the different resources online, offline that you're going to be using? And what is the activity that you will be doing with the resource that is you've taken online and the resource that you've taken offline? So what are the kind of resources you're going to be using? Is it going to be instructor made? It's going to be online. URL दोगे आप बच्चों को कि presentation बनाओगे कि video बनाओगे? All that has to be predetermined, and you need to have a lesson plan ready with you so that you are very clear about how and what you're going to deliver. Then provide the resources that this again is going to be from the instructor as to what are the resources that the students need to access. What is the LMS or the platform that you're going to be using? How that LMS is going to help the students? And what are the different sources like SWAYAM platform? You'll be using resources from the SWAYAM platform, EPG Pathshala, or the other MOOCs that are available online. So these are the ones which are used most frequently, but of course in India, all of these are not available. Most of the time we are using the LMS of Google platform, like the way we are doing right now. But we have other also, Microsoft, Teams, etc. And there are other LMS material sources also available. Then scaffolding me, you're going to be talking about what is it, what is your role, and the shift in the role from a teacher to a facilitator, the face-to-face classroom environment, how it is going to be. It needs to be an absolutely open environment where the students can ask any question that comes to their mind. They can have queries, discussions, because if the child feels that this is not a place where I can ask questions because people will make fun of me, my peers will, what will the peers think about me, then they will not ask any questions, and the purpose of the open classroom will be lost. Then identification of the gaps. The identification of the gaps is naturally through continuously following the process of each learner. What are the kind of information or output that the person is showing in the classrooms? That is at an informal level, but at a formal level, you can also have quizzes, MCQs, and classroom presentations, which will tell you how much each student has learned. And accordingly, you will need to formulate some idea about how to help this person to move further in that area. Testing is an absolute essential, because उसके बिना तो हमें पता ही नहीं चल सकता कि जो हम करवा रहे हैं वो effective भी है कि नहीं है, whether the students are able to assimilate all that information that we have given to them. We have whatever sources of information they have taken, whether they have been helpful or not. So testing is required, but of course the testing again will need to change because our mode of disseminating of the information has changed. So finally, regarding blended learning, I would like to say that designing a blended learning course is not very difficult. Yes, it does take a little bit of time because we have to change our own mindset also. We are also teaching with the mindset of the traditional classrooms. So we need to change our way of teaching as well and shift our vision of ourselves from instructor to from teacher to instructor to from instructor to supervisor and mentor. So unless we change that, our classroom atmosphere will also not good. So we have to realize and acknowledge that learning is not a power hierarchy. I am not here and the student is not here. We are both working together for the purpose of the learning by the students. So briefly, I'll go into the implications for the teachers. It's totally a student-centric learning. And it's important for us to remember that we are not just delivering information, we are helping the student to learn. We need to remember that all the students have different learning abilities, and we need to lead rather than impose information upon them. And knowledge base, I don't think I can underline that enough. Unless we have enough knowledge base, the students will always be ahead of us, and we have to ensure that we are at least one, if not two steps ahead of the students. And we need to make sure the details that we are presenting to the students is engaging. They are able to understand, and they are able to assimilate, and they are able to enjoy whatever they are learning. So 5 components of the learning blend: knowledge transfer, application of that knowledge, practice to make sure that the knowledge becomes strong, then evaluation, and then evaluation. After evaluation, we frequently realize that there are a lot of students who still need support, so continued support for those students. What usually works is 70% internships and peer trainings, 20% peer and social learning, and 10% classroom and e-learning. So 3 questions that we need to keep in mind: where the learner is now, where is the learner going and how we can help that student to get there. So these are some tips for starting a blended learning classroom. Start with small topics. No need to try and overhaul the entire thing. Small areas we can start with. Then patience is very, very huge thing that we need, because many times we'll find it very difficult. It's much easier to be in a traditional classroom and more difficult to be in a blended classroom. Technology should not just be an add-on. It needs to be there to help in the learning process. And of course, we need to keep ourselves updated regarding the online resources that are there. So this is the self-paced online learning, classroom sessions, live online sessions, discussions, assignments. These are the various components of blended learning. So with that, I come to the end. Thank you so much. And I hope it has made some sense. And please go ahead with any questions that you may have. I'll try and help